7.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Talking politics with Phil Goff.
Phil Goff with us a little bit earlier this morning because he's on his way to Ratana. Good morning to you, Phil.
Good morning, Wammo. What have you done to this weather? It's awful.
Not my responsibility. I slept through most of it.
That's the thing to do. No, it's a bit of a shocker morning here, so I think at Ratana today we may be a little wet, waiting to go onto the marae.
Yeah, so it's a big day ahead. What kind of issues will you be confronting and talking about today?
Well, a couple of things. One will be the relationship with Ratana that goes way back to the time of Michael Joseph Savage, and it's had its ups and its downs over time. But I think that relationship is strengthening. We have a number of candidates chosen absolutely on merit that do have good Ratana connections, including Reno Tirakatini, who's our young candidate for Te Tai Tonga, the old southern Maori. And he, of course, is the son of the very first Ratana MP, Sir Erawera Ratana, Tirakatini, I should say. So good family connections. But the things that I want to focus on is how we move forward. What are the big issues for Ratana adherents? Well, it'll be cost of living. We see in the Herald this morning that New Zealand's one of the most expensive places in the world now to buy a home. We see food prices going up in excess of wage increases. It'll be about employment. A figure, Wammo, that really shocks me is that 1 in 2 Maori teenage girls leaving school go onto the unemployment scrap heap. Our kids ought to be either learning or earning, yet 1 in 2 of our Maori girls go out of school and into unemployment. And how can you build a strong community and a good economy with that sort of waste and the social disaster it creates?
Well, that's a good question. How can you build that?
Well, you can't. In the Sunday Star Times over the weekend, New Zealanders expressed a concern that I share with them, that we're becoming a much more unequal society. The rich are getting richer, the poor poorer. When 700 millionaires in New Zealand got between $1,000 and $3,000 a week in tax cuts, and people on low and middle incomes continue to get squeezed, you know that New Zealand's not going in the right direction.
Well, so in the past couple of years, John Key has proved rather popular at the Ratana Church on the day when he goes and talks. Do you think he will expect the same kind of response this time around?
Well, they're always respectful on the pie to whoever comes on. I think John Key, by Ratana as well as most New Zealanders, has been given the benefit of the doubt. But into the third term of his government, he's got to start taking responsibility for what's happening in New Zealand. And what's happening in New Zealand, of course, is in the last half of last year there was no growth when we should have expected growth, with our markets booming, our dairy, our wool, our meat, our timber getting record prices. But none of this is feeding through into helping typical New Zealanders on low and middle incomes.
You were talking about this divide, this gap between the rich and the poor. Are you planning on revealing a fairer tax plan for Labour?
I've got a State of the Nation speech at the Newland Community Hall at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and I'll be setting out there some of our plans for how we grow an economy to lift living standards and to create jobs, and I'll be talking about how we get a tax system that's fair to all New Zealanders. At the moment, the middle-income people are being squeezed and forgotten about. Low-income people, have been pressed down towards the poverty line. The top few percent of New Zealand have done remarkably well. And that applies to cabinet ministers and me and other big income earners. But it hasn't been fair. It hasn't been fair to hard-working New Zealanders who just aren't getting ahead, they're going backwards.
I just wonder though, what kind of magic you're able to weave with a tax plan, particularly in this election year when everything is so squeezed and there is no room for tax cuts.
Well, it certainly can't be about magic. You can't get something from nothing, and everything has been squeezed. But I want to outline tomorrow how I think that we can get a fairer tax system, and that's just one part of the sort of changes in the direction that we need for this country. Look, I've got every confidence in New Zealand. We've got a great country, but we're not doing as well as we should be doing, and that's because there's no plan, there's no vision, and there's no determination to create a New Zealand where everybody pulls their weight and everybody gets a fair go, and that's what I want.
It's hard though, Phil, when the weather's so bad.
Yeah, well, usually in summer, of course, everybody feels better after their holidays, and it's been a relaxing time, and it's been, I think, for a lot of New Zealanders, quite a good period, but we just got a little bit drowned at the end of it. But the farmers will be happy. Their grass will be growing again.
This is true. I don't want to hear any complaints from farmers over the next few months. Nothing.
No. Well, I looked at the rain gauge on my place, and we got over 100 millimetres of rain, and I see in the paper this morning, Auckland as a whole got 150. So the farmers will be happy. Their ground is, the water content in the soil will be up. Their pasture will be growing, and it's still warm enough for that growth. So that should help them out. Now we want to see some of the return that we get from our good farm prices going to the rest of New Zealanders.
All right, thanks very much, Phil Goff. Cheers.
Thanks, mate. See you later.
See ya.
Cheers.
It's the leader of the Labour Party, Phil Goff, on his way to the gathering at Ratana Church.